We live inside a system so familiar, we've stopped questioning whether it's the only one. Of course, I'm talking about capitalism. In its simplest form, it's an economic system built on the pursuit of profit. And to be fair, it has delivered things. From innovation, choice, progress, a standard of living that by historical measures is extraordinary. But here's what I keep coming back to. Success in this system is measured by salary, assets, your job title, shareholder value, quarterly earnings, always more. A question I started to ask myself: if what we measure is what we optimize for, what destination is the pursuit of profit actually driving us towards? And more uncomfortably, what are we leaving behind to get there? No Other Choice is a film about a man who loses his job, and when faced with a highly competitive job market, he goes into extreme measures to eliminate his competition. In a world where automation and disruption are abundant, where the nature of work itself is facing an existential crisis in the era of AI, the film playfully encourages us to imagine, what extreme measures would we take to survive and to keep our place in this system? Through this entertaining extreme of a film, it forces us to reckon with the consequences of normalizing a system that rewards profit, even when it comes at the cost of our humanity. In the first 30 minutes, No Other Choice forces us to sit with the confronting experience of redundancy and the grueling, demeaning process of looking for work. In the context of Mansu, our protagonist, his identity as a family man who provides is on the line. The pressure to uphold the masculine expectation of being the provider of the family is laid bare as we see our protagonist struggle through the rejection and anxiety of the unavoidable job hunting process. We see applications sent into silence, interviews that feel performative and desperate, seeking the approval of strangers with a job title that you no longer have, and polite rejections wrapped in corporate language. We've all been through it. What's striking isn't just the difficulty of finding a job, it's how quickly the absence of one begins to erode a person's sense of worth, which No Other Choice captures brilliantly. Director Park Chan-wook isn't just mocking capitalism, he's diagnosing what it's doing to us. The film explores how scarcity, real or manufactured, brings out the worst in human behavior. How desperation makes us stop seeing each other as people, and we start to instead see each other as obstacles. We're living through the collapse of the middle class, with industries being accelerated into automation, jobs that were supposed to provide stability, structure, meaning, becoming obsolete as the changes of technological innovation is outpacing how people are defining the future of work and the new jobs that come with it. In this system, employment isn't just income, it's validation, it's identity, it's proof that you're needed and that you're useful. In a capitalist-driven world, when scarcity becomes the baseline, what will continue to happen? Particularly, what will happen to our humanity? We measure ourselves by productivity, by employability, and by how easily we can be absorbed back into the system. And the film asks us to question how far someone is willing to go to remain relevant within a system that equates our worth with output. Because once you've subscribed to that logic, once your sense of self is tied to being chosen, hired, and validated, being rejected doesn't just threaten your livelihood, it threatens your identity. When resources feel scarce, when upward mobility starts to feel like a lie we were sold, something fundamental shifts in how we see the world. We start seeing life as a zero-sum game. Your gain is my loss, your success threatens mine, and if you get ahead, I'll fall behind. In November 2024, Patricia Andrews Fearon and Friedrich Götz published research in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology studying over 10,000 people across 6 countries. They found that the zero-sum mindset, the belief that one person's gain must come at another's expense, actively stifles cooperation, even when working together would benefit everyone involved. A December 2025 study in applied psychology reinforced the finding. Zero-sum thinking doesn't just make us competitive, it makes us hostile. No other choice takes this to its logical extreme. It shows us what zero-sum thinking does, how it warps perception, how it disrupts connection, and how it makes us complicit in a system that thrives on efficiency, competition, profit, and productivity at any cost. That's why the vase scene lands with such force. Mansu follows a line manager from a rival firm, vase in hand, ready to kill him for the job. Then, you see that a realization happens as he stands on the balcony. Killing his rival won't solve anything, not because it's morally wrong, but because it's structurally pointless. The role will be filled, the vacancy will close, and the machine will continue. Darwinism in capitalism isn't just about survival of the strongest, it's about efficiency, productivity, at any cost. This is the turning point in the film where our protagonist realizes that he must eliminate his competition to be the best candidate in line for his rival's position at Moonpaper. To achieve this, he advertises a fake job to assess the pool of competitors who are applying. From these applications, he identifies 2 men who supersedes his own credentials, Bomo and Sijo. I won't go into the details of the murders because I do encourage you to watch the entire film for yourself. However, what was clear was the escalatory ramp into ruthlessness and self-preservations as each murder was executed. By the final kill, our protagonist has become efficient, methodical, almost routine. By this final kill, he's faced again with his rival from Moonpaper, Choi Sun-chul, who he spared on the balcony. You see the recognition in Mansu's face, the recognition that he can't waver from his path. He even tells his rival that he can't stop now, otherwise the death of the first 2 victims would be for nothing. This is where we see our protagonist accept the loss of his humanity for the sake of survival. This is what makes the final kill feel so cold, yet ironically triumphant for the character. The film asks us to reflect on where we may resonate with his need for survival and to recognize how the system is incentivizing choices that devalue humans, where our value is purely measured by our economic output through ruthless competition. And it's everywhere we look. Capitalism is what structures everything: how we work, how we measure worth, and how we identify value. In an era of AI and automation, the pursuit of profit is accelerating faster than we can process, and we're seeing a race to replace, making it critical now more than ever to question what no other choice confronts audiences with. Do we have a choice in this? Do we have agency? Or has the system already decided that dehumanization is just the cost of doing business? Every choice that the characters make throughout the film has been a conscious decision. No other choice shows us what happens when survival, efficiency, and profit become the only values that matter. Now, my thoughts on the ending of the film. Look, it was pretty bleak. Whilst Park Chan-wook asks audiences the question, do we have a choice? His ending statement and answer to that question was clear. We're staring at an anti-human future. Seeing Mansu win the game and survive until the end made me reflect on how emptily triumphant this corporate climbing stage can feel as tech billionaires race to replace people. The ending bleakly paints a picture of where we're headed in a world where we're incentivized to maximize profit at the expense of people. Despite the bleak picture that the ending paints, rightly, wrongly, or indifferently, I want to challenge the ending with an alternative question. Where can we find our agency? Because if what we measure is what we optimize for, then choosing what we value in our workplaces, our policies, and our relationships is not insignificant. In the film, the women were the breath of fresh air who embodied agency and assuming control over what they could control considering the circumstances that they faced. Ara and Minnie were both pragmatic, effective, and had a progressive vision that encouraged their spouses to reframe redundancy and to find the opportunity. By choosing to believe in our own agency and to find the opportunities to practice this, to train our brain and reframe our circumstances to identify where we can practice our own agency in our own microenvironments, is the beginning of a different direction. It's a start. Perhaps it's these micro decisions that we make in everyday life that will amount to a movement that's bigger than what we can currently imagine today. In conclusion, be sure to take your sick days, prioritize your health, and know that there will always be another job. We might not just know what that job is just yet. While I see and understand the dystopic vision that Park Chan-wook has painted, I ultimately want to choose to be a naive optimist, especially in a world where it does feel like we have no other choice.